The garden was a graveyard of memories, its roses wilting under the weight of unspoken grief. Clara, barely 16, stood frozen at its edge, her sneakers sinking into the damp earth. She hadn't meant to trespass, but the old widower's gate hung ajar, whispering an invitation she couldn't resist. Clara's mother had died 3 years ago, leaving behind a void that swallowed her laughter and her lullabies. The small town of Eldwood whispered about Clara's loss, their piteous suffocating blanket she couldn't shake off. She'd wandered here, to Mr. Harrow's garden, chasing rumors of its beauty flowers so vivid they seemed to defy death itself. The widower, Mr. Harrow, was a ghost in Eldwood stories. They said he'd lost his wife decades ago, and now he tended his garden like a man keeping time at bay. Clara saw him now, bent over a rosebush, his hands trembling as he clipped a stem. His face was a map of wrinkles, each line etched with a sorrow she recognized. She stepped forward, her heart thudding, and the snap of a twig betrayed her presence. Mr. Harrow turned, his eyes sharp despite their cloudiness. "You're not supposed to be here," he said, his voice low but not unkind. Clara froze, expecting anger, but he only studied her, as if seeing something beyond her tangled hair and tear-streaked face. "You're the Miller girl, aren't you? The one who lost her mother?" Clara nodded, her throat tight. "I just wanted to see the garden. They say it's the prettiest in town." He snorted, a sound that was almost a laugh. "Pretty, maybe, but it's alive. That's what matters." He gestured to a bench under an oak tree, its bark gnarled like his hands. "Sit. You look like you need it." She hesitated but obeyed, the bench creaking under her weight. Mr. Harrow returned to his roses, but his silence felt like a bridge, not a wall. Clara watched him work, the way his fingers coaxed life from the soil. She wondered how he could nurture beauty when his own world had crumbled. "Do you ever miss her?" Clara blurted, her voice barely above a whisper. She regretted it instantly, but Mr. Harrow didn't flinch. "Every day," he said, not looking up. "But the garden keeps her close. She loved it here." He paused, then pointed to a clay flower pot on the ground, its surface cracked but sturdy. "Take that. Plant something in it. It'll teach you how to keep going." Clara frowned, confused by the gesture. She approached the pot, its weight surprising in her hands. As she lifted it, something rattled inside a folded piece of paper, yellowed with age. Her heart skipped. "What's this?" Mr. Harrow's eyes flickered with something unreadable. "Open it," he said. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the note. The handwriting was unmistakable, her mother's looping scrawl, the kind Clara had traced on old grocery lists. Her breath caught as she read. "Clara, my light, if you're reading this, you found the garden. Keep growing, even when it hurts. Love, Mom." Clara's knees buckled. She sank to the ground, clutching the note, tears blurring the ink. How could her mother's words be here, in this stranger's garden? She looked at Mr. Harrow, his face softened by something like understanding. "Your mother used to come here," he said quietly. "She'd sit on that bench, talk about you. She left that note years ago, said you'd find it when you needed it." Clara's world tilted. Her mother had known this garden, this man, this secret place, and she'd left a piece of herself for Clara to find. The revelation was a lifeline, pulling her from the abyss of her grief. But questions burned in her chest. Why had her mother never told her about Mr. Harrow? What else had she hidden? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the garden in gold, Clara clutched the pot and the note, her heart a tangle of pain and hope. Mr. Harrow watched her, his silence heavy with stories untold. Clara returned to the garden the next day, the flower pot cradled in her arms like a fragile promise. The note from her mother burned in her pocket, its words replaying in her mind. "Keep growing, even when it hurts." She didn't understand how her mother had known Mr. Harrow, but the garden felt like a tether to her, a place where answers might bloom. Mr. Harrow was there, as if he'd been waiting. He knelt by a patch of lavender, his hands stained with earth. "Back already?" he said, glancing up. "That pot won't plant itself." Clara set the pot down, her fingers tracing its cracks. "I don't know what to plant," she admitted. "I've never done this before." He handed her a packet of seeds marigolds, bright and defiant. "They're tough," he said. "Like you." She blushed, unsure if he meant it as a compliment. As she dug into the soil, Mr. Harrow spoke of his wife, Eleanor, her laughter, her love for marigolds. Clara listened, her hands working the earth, feeling a strange kinship with this man who carried his loss like a second skin. Then, a shadow fell across the garden. A boy, maybe 17, leaned against the gate, his dark hair falling into his eyes. "Grandpa, you didn't tell me we had company," he said, his tone light but edged with curiosity. Clara's head snapped up. "Grandpa?" She hadn't known Mr. Harrow had family. The boy Finn, he introduced himself, grinned, his presence like a sudden gust of wind, stirring the stillness of the garden. "You're Clara, right? I've seen you around school." She nodded, wary. Finn's ease unsettled her. He didn't carry the weight of Eldwood's pity. He knelt beside her, inspecting the pot. "You're doing it wrong," he said, teasing. "You've got to give the roots room to breathe." Mr. Harrow chuckled, a sound Clara hadn't heard before. "Finn's got Eleanor's knack for this," he said. "He's been helping me since he was a kid." Finn's arrival shifted something in Clara. His story-soft summers spent in the garden, of his grandmother's recipes, of Mr. Harrow's quiet strength painted a picture of a family bound by love and loss. But it also deepened her questions. If her mother had been close to Mr. Harrow, why had she never mentioned this place? That evening, Clara found another note tucked into the pot's soil, smaller this time, in her mother's handwriting. "Clara, find the oak tree's secret. It's yours." Her pulse raced. The oak tree, the one with the bench where she'd sat yesterday. She rushed to it, Finn trailing behind, his curiosity piqued. Under the bench, buried shallowly, was a tin box. Inside were letters, dozens of them, addressed to Clara in her mother's hand. They spoke of her mother's dreams, her fears, her love for Clara and her friendship with Eleanor, Mr. Harrow's wife. The women had been inseparable, the letters revealed, bound by shared hopes and quiet sorrows. Clara's tears fell as she read, Finn sitting silently beside her. The garden wasn't just Mr. Harrow's, it had been her mother's sanctuary, too. But one question lingered, sharp as a thorn. Why had her mother kept this secret? The letters became Clara's lifeline, each one a thread stitching her to her mother's past. She returned to the garden daily, reading under the oak tree, the flower pot, now sprouting tiny marigold shoots. Mr. Harrow watched her, his silence a steady presence, while Finn brought a new energy, his jokes and stories easing the weight of her discoveries. But the letters held a mystery. Her mother wrote of a promise to Eleanor, something about protecting Clara from a truth she wasn't ready for. Clara's heart ached with questions, but Mr. Harrow deflected her probing, saying only, "Your mother wanted you to find your own way." One afternoon, as Clara planted more seeds, a woman appeared at the garden gate, middle-aged, with sharp eyes and a hesitant smile. "You must be Clara," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm Lillian. I knew your mother." Clara froze. Another secret? Lillian explained she'd been Eleanor's sister, a friend to Clara's mother, but had left Eldwood years ago after a falling out. "I came back to see the garden," Lillian said, her gaze lingering on Mr. Harrow, "and to make things right." Lillian's arrival was the twist Clara hadn't expected. She carried a leather journal, its pages filled with her mother's sketches, gardens, flowers, Clara as a baby. "Your mother wanted you to have this," Lillian said, handing it over. She said it would explain everything. The journal revealed the promise. Clara's mother and Eleanor had vowed to protect their children from the town's judgment. Clara's mother had been pregnant young, out of wedlock, a scandal in Eldwood's small-minded eyes. The garden had been their refuge, a place to dream of a world where Clara could grow free of shame. Clara's chest tightened. Her mother had hidden this to shield her, but the truth felt like a betrayal. Why hadn't she trusted Clara with it? She confronted Mr. Harrow, her voice shaking. "You knew all this. Why didn't you tell me?" He sighed, his eyes distant. "Your mother asked me to wait until you were ready. She believed you'd find the strength here, in the garden." Finn, who'd been listening, spoke up. "She's right here, Clara. She's in the flowers, the notes, the stories. You're not alone." His words, simple but fierce, cracked something open in Clara. She wasn't just her mother's daughter, she was part of something bigger, a legacy of resilience. As dusk settled, Clara sat with the journal, Lillian's stories weaving new threads into her mother's life. The garden felt alive with their voices, their love. But one letter remained unopened, sealed with wax, marked, "For Clara, when it's time." Clara held the sealed letter, its weight heavier than the flower pot she'd first carried. The garden glowed under the morning sun, marigolds blooming fiercely in her pot, a testament to her care. She hadn't opened the letter yet, afraid of what final truth it held, but Mr. Harrow's quiet nod urged her forward. Finn sat beside her, his presence a steady anchor. Lillian lingered nearby, her eyes tracing the garden's paths as if searching for her sister. Clara broke the wax seal, her hands trembling, and read, "Clara, my heart, I hid my past to give you a future unburdened by my mistakes. You are my greatest bloom, stronger than any storm. Live boldly, love fiercely, Mom." Tears streamed down Clara's face, but they were different now, less grief, more gratitude. Her mother hadn't just left notes. She'd left a map to resilience, hidden in the garden's soil, in Mr. Harrow's kindness, in Lillian's return. Clara realized the garden wasn't just a place, it was a promise, kept by those who loved her. She looked at Mr. Harrow, his hands still tending the roses. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled, a rare softness breaking through his weathered face. "You're welcome, kid. Now keep those marigolds alive." Finn nudged her. "You're stuck with us now," he said, grinning. "This garden's got a way of keeping people together." Lillian joined them, sharing stories of Eleanor and Clara's mother, their laughter echoing through the years. Clara felt her mother's presence in every word, every bloom. The garden had given her more than a note, it had given her a family, pieced together from loss and love. As Clara planted another seed, she made a silent vow to grow, to live boldly, as her mother had wished. The garden stretched before her, alive with possibility, its flowers whispering of hope.